Good morning, Ms. Howard. You may begin.
Good morning, and thank you, Marlo, very much. Good morning, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is Thursday. This is Thursday. I want to say good morning again, but I also want to bring greetings to you from our General Manager, Mr. Randy Clark, and our Vice President and Chief Procurement Officer, Ms. Tamara Roberts. Thank you so much for participating today in WMATA Small Business Programs Outreach with the one and only Ms. Lisa Anderson, Anavo Transformation Solutions. Today, you will be hearing about foolproof planning to grow your business. This is the time when we need to invest into our business, and she will have some nuggets to drop for you today. Please remember that at WMATA, your participation is key, and we definitely encourage all of the small businesses to work with us and to be certified with us. We do have small business programs that you can be certified in, so please go and check out our website and learn more about them. We are definitely open for business, and we want you to be a part of our contracting opportunities. Remember, we are your metro, the way forward. Also, please put all of your questions in the chat. All questions in the chat. And remember to fill out the survey that will be sent to you after the presentation. These surveys help us to plan program events that can benefit or support your business development and growth. So filling them out helps us to plan these type of educational virtual outreaches for you and your business. I want to thank you again for attending, and I hope that you enjoyed this informative session. I always look forward to when Lisa was able to come and support us like this. She is a highly accomplished strategic business advisor and virtual CFO with Anavo, Transformation Solutions, LLC. She has an impressive professional background spanning for 27 years. She is a certified public accountant, certified leadership coach, and a ConGov compliance guru. Lisa is a five-time business owner, author, and entrepreneur who has made a significant impact in the small business world. Her passion lies in empowering small minority-owned and women businesses to thrive from within. Her expertise as a CFO and strategic advisor has been sought after by businesses across the nation and internationally. By helping her clients align their financial strategies, with their overall mission, Lisa has facilitated remarkable growth, with some businesses achieving up to 600% growth within a year. With an accomplished background that includes sales of her own multi-seven-figure business, Lisa is now dedicated to guiding and mentoring other small business owners on their path to success. Her wealth of experience and passion for entrepreneurship makes her an invaluable resource for those seeking to achieve extraordinary growth and profitability. Ladies and gentlemen, I bring to you Miss Lisa Anderson.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Michelle. I am very excited to be here with you all today to talk about this extremely important topic of strategic planning. This is the time of year where we should be thinking about this, and I'm going to share a little bit about why that is important in a moment. But today we are going to talk about foolproof strategic planning to scale your business. Um, My goal for today is to help you effectively navigate through today's difficult environment, to learn the Pulse Profit framework that we established to help companies develop strategic plans and achieve their growth objectives, as well as achieve some of those statistics that Michelle mentioned earlier. My other goal is to help you perform or complete a SWOT analysis of your business, which I think is extremely important, to identify growth opportunities and create your 90-day action plan. At the end of this, I will share ways in which you can complete your own strategic roadmap using the framework and formula and worksheets that we use, that we've developed to help companies create that concise strategic planning process. So once again, I am Lisa Anderson. I am a strategic business advisor and virtual CFO with Anavo Transformation Solutions. And our primary focus is on serving and supporting small, minority, and women-owned businesses. That has been my focus for my entire career, which is roughly around 39 years now. It is also what we do specifically within our businesses, that we focus on companies, small businesses in and around the government community, the government contracting community. Um, and through my processes of working with organizations, I have the opportunity to share a lot of the concepts and the things that we've seen that have worked with small businesses and things that have not worked with small businesses through many programs like what we're presenting today, as well as through the PTAC programs, as well as with the small business development centers throughout the region. And so I'm excited to share some of this information with you. What I want you to know is I'm like you. I'm a small business as well, a small business owner as well. And because of our own experience and experience that we've had with working with other small businesses, we understand firsthand what is necessary in order to make certain that your company uh, overcomes market pressures, I would say, as well as continuing to remain profitable, compliant, and competitive in the marketplace. So we're going to talk about those things throughout this morning's presentation. All right, and much of what I will talk about today comes from information that we share in the books that I've written. The first one being Beyond the Plateau: 5 Simple Steps to Scale Your Way Through to $1 million business. These 5 steps that are in this book, I'm going to go through with you today. And in our Build Legacy Now, Pause Profit Business Planner also takes these concepts to another level and allows you to do some really focused strategic planning. I always like to start each of our presentations with a quote that is going to help ground us and stay focused on what our objectives are at hand. And so today's quote is, "Your mission is critical and focus wins the race." And that is absolutely important. If you don't take anything away from today's presentation, it is your mission is critical. Why you exist in business, who you are serving, the impact that you are looking to make as a result of being in business, that is extremely important. Even in difficult environments, it is important to understand that you've got to tap back into your mission and realign and establish pivot points that will help you to realign that mission with the marketplace. And so I want you to remember that your mission is critical. That's the most important thing with your business, and focus absolutely does win the race. So why are we talking about this right now? Why are we talking about strategic planning right now? This is the procurement marketing cycle, and it's a cycle that depicts the way in which the federal government operates and how companies should position themselves to enter into the market or expand within the market during certain periods of time based upon what the customers are focused in on. So when we look at this, we can see that, and I always say it's begin with the end in mind, right? So when you start operating a business, when you're focusing on your strategic planning, begin with the end in mind. What is your end goal? What is your long-term objective? And so let's start with the end in mind with respect to this procurement cycle, and that is the fourth quarter of each year. And for the federal government, that fourth quarter is July through September. And what's happening in that fourth quarter is that there's heavy procurement, as we know, typically. And this is time to capture great opportunities as business owners, as business operators. We want to make certain that we have done all the work that is necessary in order to be able to capture opportunity that occurs during this heavy procurement season. Then we step into the first quarter, immediately following that fourth quarter. And the first quarter runs from October through December. And from a procurement standpoint, it's somewhat quiet on the federal government side because they just came out of a heavy procurement season. The budget is in place in many cases, or we hope that the budget is in place. But nonetheless, the objectives, where the organizations and agencies are going, and what they're focusing in on, the initiatives, the procurement requirements, they're all in place, or at least they've been planned out for the year. And so now it's time for, as small businesses, for us to really focus in and do our research. It's time for us to buckle down and understand, what is the budget? What is our ideal customer looking to procure, to acquire over the course of this next year? And where do we fit into that? And then once we understand that, we've done our homework, now we're ready to enter into the second quarter of the year, which is January through March. Again, we're talking about the federal procurement cycle. And this is where a lot of small business outreach is occurring. A lot of agencies are executing different programs, different ways in which to meet small businesses. They're inviting small businesses in to meet with them. They're getting to know the resources that are out there that can help them achieve the mission, to achieve the objectives that are established in the budget. And so if you've done your homework, and now we know who we're focusing in terms of targets, now we know who to engage with from a small business office standpoint, so that we can ensure that we become visible in these organizations. And then finally, it's the third quarter, which is April through June. And third quarter is heavy marketing initiatives. We've got to get out there, get our faces known. We've got to look for opportunities to respond to. And the response process can happen throughout the year, but the objective in this third quarter is really to position ourselves to be prepared to capture greater opportunities in that fourth quarter that is to come. So this is the federal marketplace, and this marketing cycle works in every industry. I've worked with, helped my daughter build her business, which is actually a custom apparel company, using this same type of cycle. And what we do is we take a look at the marketplace that companies are entering into, and we understand, what is the buying season, what is the buying cycle, what is the buying process for their customers in that marketplace. So today we are here to talk about, we are all here joined together through Metro and WMATA. And so this procurement cycle also works with WMATA. We just changed the dates. Essentially, the fourth quarter occurred already between April and June. So now we are we're actually at the tail end of the first quarter. And that is a time when we really need to do our homework. Take a look at WMATA's procurement website and get to understand the key initiatives that are coming forth for the agency and the organization, and also take a look at the budget. And so from that perspective, you've done your homework, you're doing things like this now, preparing to do things like this, and engage with the small business offices through their outreach initiatives, in participating in events like this and any on-site activities that may occur. So you want to make certain that you understand this, and this is why it is important that we talk about strategic planning now, because this is the time that we should be doing our homework. Okay. So what is a strategic plan? What is a strategic plan? And I'd like for you to take a moment to put in the chat what a strategic plan is for you. What does that mean for you? Tell me in the chat. And actually, I can't see the chat. So if there are things coming up in the chat in terms of what strategic planning is meaning, somebody could read those off for me, that would be fantastic. But let me know, what do you think of when you think about strategic planning? What does that mean for you and your business? And I'm not sure, I can't see the chat. So if there's anything coming
I'll
up.
read those off for you once I see them.
Okay,
Yeah,
fantastic.
We're monitoring for you, Lisa. If anything comes up, Marlo's on it.
All right, excellent. All right, so
far, Lisa, we have a blueprint of my next steps so far.
All right, a blueprint of my next steps. Excellent. Very, very good. So let's talk about what it is, what a strategic plan is. First of all, it is your business GPS. It is the thing that is going to guide your company. It is the thing that provides the direction, commitment, and guides every decision that you make within your business. I've worked with many small businesses throughout my career, and many will write out their strategy. They'll write out their business plan, and often they set that business plan aside. They set that strategy aside, and then they go operate, and they don't get back to it. But really, your strategic plan is your compass. You want to make certain that you are tapping into it, that stays in front of you, and that everybody in your organization understands and knows exactly where you're headed and where you're going. The next thing a strategic plan is your decision support. It helps you make the hard core decisions and choices about where you're going, what to invest in, when and how to pivot, and who to partner with. This is extremely important as you continue to move forward in business. It is also reality and not theory. So we want to make certain that we are tapping into what is actually happening in the marketplace, understanding where we fit in, and then how we can execute and move forward with our initiatives to grow our organizations and help our customers. So a strategic plan, in my words, is it's life. It's life to your business, it's direction, and it's commitment. Without a strategic plan, you are just guessing. And not only are you just guessing, you are allowing the environment to dictate and drive the direction in which your business is going. One of the things I say to small businesses all the time is we want to make certain that we are building business by design. And what that means is we have to tell the business the direction that we're moving in. We have to put policies and practices in place, and we have to follow them, and we have to communicate them to our staff and our team. So we want to make certain that we are constantly in a strategic mode. Your strategic plan process should occur every single year. You don't operate off of just one plan. Why? Because as we are experiencing right now, there are shifts in the marketplace that can happen at any given time. They can happen quickly or they can happen over time. But at any given time, we want to make certain that we understand strategically how our company can navigate and move forward successfully and continue to grow. Okay? So, strategic planning in today's environment, we understand that there's a lot of things that are going on right now. There's a lot of changes that are happening in today's marketplace. We've already heard about the executive orders that have occurred, that budgets have been realigned. There have been delays in various contract awards. Many of us are still probably waiting for award notices for proposals that we may have submitted months ago. And that has disrupted our pipeline for growth. We're having conversations with small businesses every single day right now about opportunities, initiatives, and what is the status of things that we have included in our strategic objectives so that we can understand how we need to move forward. So your response to all of these changes in the marketplace should be to reassess your core mission. Do we still align with the marketplace and our primary customers' objectives? Where do we need to tighten up our operations? We need to clarify our value proposition, what we offer to the marketplace, and prepare to pivot when necessary. And partnering is extremely important. At the end of the day, the sky is not falling. Let me just tell you this. We were talking about this sidebar before the meeting began this morning. We have been here before. I'm going to say this again. We have been here before. With every change in leadership, there is something that changes or potentially disrupts the marketplace. We have been here before. And guess what? We've survived. I've been in business for 28 years. I've been through several disruptions, and the sky has never fallen. At the end of the day, we just want to understand strategically how do we best move forward? How do we best fit in so that we can continue to further the mission of our customers? Okay. So when we think about how companies scale, and if you've been on my webinars before, you've seen this slide before. But many of us think that companies scale in a straight line, that we go from point zero to point millions, and it's just a straight line. But really, at the end of the day, it doesn't happen that way. There are lots of dips, hills and valleys along the way. And when we go through the process of preparing and planning for our futures, we want to try our best to even out the dips and valleys that occur. And instead of them becoming dips and valleys, we want them to be plateaus. And what I call in business, many organizations, they see a plateau as a bad thing, but a plateau is not a bad thing. A plateau is an opportunity for companies to establish and readdress their foundation, to come back and take a look at how we've grown and how we're going to grow from here, and what things that we need to put in place to strengthen our organization to continue to grow. So when you look at these three charts, and these are real businesses, these are real companies that we've worked with, where we've looked at over time how they've grown, what has been their cycle. And when we look at these charts, I can tell you that 2 out of 3 grew quickly and at a steady pace because they put a valuable strategic plan in place. And then one of them continued to grow at a slower pace. They had many dips and valleys because they didn't have a strategic plan. They didn't follow it. And instead, what they did is they pursued opportunities. They won contract awards. They worked on those contracts. And then when those contracts were over, they get a dip, and it was time for us to go back out and start marketing and win a contract, work on that contract. Contract is over, we hit that dip, and we keep going. Well, we can't continue to operate business that way. That creates chaos within our organization. And so you want to make certain that you understand the direction. So when we take a look at these 3 organizations, 2 of them have built business by design and through strategic planning, and 1 has built their business based upon market conditions, existing contract awards, but they really didn't have a solid plan in place. So what we want you to do is we want you to have a solid plan. That leads me to, how do we grow? When we work with companies, our core focus is from launch when they first begin to $30 million. And when we look at companies that have taken that pathway of growth, there have really been 6 different phases in which they have grown. They've gone, and on rare occasion, have they gone from, let's say the very beginning from launch to straight to 30 million. In fact, I haven't worked with one company that has done that. It has taken them time, energy, effort, and growth initiatives, strategic initiatives to get to the next level. And so there are 6 phases that we've seen. There's launch, livelihood, lifestyle, leverage, and latitude and legacy. And what I want you to do is I want you to take a look at where your company is today. Take a look at this chart and be honest with yourself. Where is your company today? Are we operating really solo? Maybe we are, the only operational person within our organization, and we're really looking to start to expand a little bit further. So maybe we're in that livelihood capacity where we generate just enough revenue to make certain that we're paying the bills. Or maybe we're in lifestyle and we've done a pretty good job of acquiring contracts and bringing on new customers, but we've hit a ceiling. We've reached our personal capacity, and now we're really ready to start growing a team and lean into the leverage phase. So I want you to take a look at where your business is today. And the reason why I want you to know where your business is today is because as we go through the process of discussing the strategic planning process, I want you to always be thinking about what your next move is. What is your next move? What is your next level? So if today you're in lifestyle, your next level is leverage, and which means that we're transitioning from one, singular person in operations to building out our operations, so that we are really focused in on growth. Management is critical at that phase, and that we can also start to bring on larger contract opportunities. So I want you to take a look at where you are, and I want you to know and understand what your next level move is. Okay. And I want you to think about that as we continue to move forward with this discussion. So what I'm going to present to you today is our Pulse Profit Framework, which is a method that we designed over the last 10 years to help companies scale. And essentially what this is to help companies grow from the inside out. And by design, we work with CEOs to ensure that they are focusing in on 4 key areas. Those 4 key areas are mission, money, marketing, and management. And we like to say in that order, because I'm a math person, I'm a numbers person, I'm a CPA, and there's an order and priority to everything. And we don't want anybody to be out of alignment. So we always focus on mission, money, marketing, and management in that order. Once we do that, that gives us the opportunity to create clarity about our strategic initiatives, build confidence in our abilities to enter into the marketplace in the best position and capacity possible, to create consistency through our marketing efforts, which then ultimately will increase your cash flow, increase your competencies, and at the end of the day, what we really want to do is help you increase your capacity, because any and every question in business really is a capacity question. Okay. So ultimately, we want to help you build capacity. So there's a 5-step process, and we're going to talk about those in the strategic planning process following this slide. And that process begins with preparing your vision. And that's what the strategic plan is all about, is realigning with your organization, your business's vision, to understand the numbers. What is your customer's budget? And then what are your internal numbers? How can we forecast revenue, expenses, and our bottom line, and also be in a profitable position to price? We also want to make certain that we're leveraging resources. Partnership is extremely key, especially in this current market that we're operating in. You want to scale your opportunities, which means that we may need to pivot or maybe even expand our reach in order to make certain that we're building momentum for our companies, and then engage a profitable team. Because as things are starting to take root, as the initiatives start to materialize, as we start to expand our opportunities and then also pivot within certain areas, we need to make certain that we have good operations and good back office support. So your strategic plan should cover all of these areas as you're moving forward to plan your next move. So this is the framework. This is the worksheet. Stick with me, because at the end of this presentation, I'm going to provide you with a link where you will be able to download this worksheet, and you will be able to fill in the information that is very specific to your company. Okay, so this is the worksheet that we're going to walk through today. All right. So before we begin that process, I want to make certain that I am going to tie this into a client that we work with. And this particular client initially operated in food services. Her company provided cafeteria support to military bases. So she primarily worked with the Department of Defense. But when the pandemic hit, as you know, food services took a really big hit. And so she had to figure out how are we going to continue operating in this environment. And so what we did is we sat down, we put a clear strategic plan in place, and we identified certain market gaps that aligned with her specific services. So she's in food services. She made a shift from food services to providing facilities management and construction management. Construction management was actually a surprise for us, but it fit very well with the types of work that she had been doing already with military installations. She built her internal capacity, invested in hiring, training, and improving her operations to meet that objective. And then we use this method to help to build out her strategic plan. She partnered through a joint venture. Well, initially she partnered with a pretty strong strategic partner that she had already started working with, and then they formed a joint venture. that joint venture helped them to expand even further. And as a result of all of this, she expanded her customer base. So she had primarily done business for a really long time with the Department of the Army. And now she's working with other military installations in other areas, not just in the Maryland area, but now she's working with installations nationwide. So as a result of her pivot, she's been able to, and the ability to put a solid strategic plan in place that met the needs of the market. She was able to um, build her business beyond food services. She still does food services, but now facilities maintenance management and construction management are her primary focus. As a result, she within 2 years, she secured multi-year facilities maintenance contracts. She increased her bonding capacity, and she expanded her operational employees. Her competitive advantage was that she was a hub zone organization and a woman-owned organization. So in construction management, you probably already know this, that there is a huge opportunity for hub zone and women-owned businesses in that space. And that was extremely helpful for her because she already had those certifications, she already had relationships, and she had past performance in doing the work for military installations, for doing work, past performance work with military installations. So her success story is not luck. It absolutely is not. It was strategy, it was planning, it was partnership. She was able to execute growth in ways in which she had not originally imagined, but she went to the market, identified a gap, and put a plan in place and executed that plan. Okay. So let's begin the planning process. And we're going to talk about your strengths, your weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Because at the end of the day, we need to know exactly where do we fit, what is happening within our organization, and what's important to our business right now. So when you conduct a SWOT analysis, we want to make certain that you're focusing in on some very key things. This is about being extremely clear because clarity will drive your strategy. Clarity will drive your strategy, and clarity also gives you an opportunity to execute. Okay. So your strengths are the internal capabilities that give your business a competitive edge. So where are you strong today? What unique advantages does your business have today? Do you have any type of specialized expertise or past performance like my client did? Or do you have existing certifications that can help you get your foot in the door or even to do better business with strategic partners? Do you have existing client relationships where you can do what I say, execute the wedge effect? And what is the wedge effect? The wedge effect is you get in to do work, the existing work that you're currently doing, you use that as an opportunity to expand, grow, and market, but you've got to do that through communication. So do you have client relationships right now where you can execute the wedge effect? And then do you have a skilled team? And what skills does your team bring to the table? When many companies think about their core competencies and their strengths, they generally think about what my business has done, what we have done as an organization. But your strengths also come from your team. So you want to make certain that you tap into the strengths of the team, the specialties of your team, so that you can execute them and document that as well. Along with your strengths, where are you weak? These are internal things that may hinder your profitability. They may hinder your ability to grow. They may hinder your project success. And we want to get real about those things because we want to improve upon them so that we can move those weaknesses into strengths. Okay. And so take a look at your operational. Are there any efficiencies in your operations? Do you have any cash flow constraints? And if you do, maybe we need to consider banking relationships and setting up a good line of credit because your customers want to make certain that you are financially viable, right? You want to make certain that you take a look at your client relationships and are they strong? And if not, where do we have an opportunity to strengthen them? Why aren't they strong? We want to document that. And then bonding capacity, as we know, is extremely important. We want to make certain that we have the appropriate bonding capacity in order to execute on our projects. And then opportunities. These are external conditions that provide you an opportunity to leverage growth within your business. Okay. So what is happening in the marketplace that gives you the opportunity to grow, to expand? So what are emerging contract areas for my client that I mentioned previously? It was construction, because when we take a look at what was happening in the pandemic, construction was one of the markets, the industries where contract opportunities were abundant as compared to food services. Okay. And so you want to take a look at what contract opportunities are emerging within your area or surrounding areas. What are the partnership possibilities? And partnership is extremely key in order for us to go to market and be successful in this current environment. What technology innovations can you use? AI, artificial intelligence, is hitting the market like crazy right now. So is there an opportunity for us to leverage some technological advances to help us either operationally or to execute on our projects? Okay. So you want to take a look at technologies. Where is there an opportunity there? Where is there an opportunity to diversify your customer? I'm going to tell you, this has been one of the biggest lessons that companies have learned in this current environment, is that their customer base was not diversified enough. You want to make certain that you're not just looking at one primary customer, but you're looking at 2, 3, or 4 primary customers that you can go to market and support. Okay. We've got to diversify our portfolio. Diversifying our customer base gives us an opportunity to sustain business. Where one area may get cut in budgets, another area may be growing. And so we want to make certain that we're diversifying that customer base. And then where is there an opportunity to potentially expand geographically? So getting outside of our own backyard and supporting in some other areas. Okay. And then beyond that, let's take a look at the threats. And again, these are external factors that are creating challenges potentially to our success or stability as an organization. So what are external factors that are facing you right now? Well, we know many of them currently, but funding challenges, funding changes is a threat. We've seen many contracts that have either reduced in scope, reduced in size, or were completely discontinued in this current marketplace. So what are those threats? Who are the new competitors that are entering into the marketplace, and then understanding how you stand up against them? What are the regulatory shifts? We're hearing lots of that happening right now. And then what are the budgetary restrictions? We want to know what these threats are so that we can identify where there may be an opportunity for us to strengthen our business to meet those threats through the opportunities that are being presented. Okay. So you want to conduct your SWOT analysis. And I say start there first, because that talks about your foundation. Remember, we want to, in order for us to advance to the next level on a legacy scale, we need to make certain that we understand what our next level moves are and what we need to do in order to be a strong organization to capture those opportunities and be prepared to advance to the next level. Okay. So our next area is to plan your marketing. Okay. And this is where we're going to focus in on what our core competencies are and what they will be, as well as what our competitive advantage is. And we've talked about some of these things already, but I'll go through them in a little bit more detail. So assessing your core competencies. What are core competencies? These are the areas with the services that you offer to your customers in the marketplace where you have a unique strength. that gives your business a competitive edge. So what is that? What is that specialized expertise? These are areas where you are consistently outperforming others in the marketplace. And you know that through contract surveys, past performance evaluations. We want to make certain that we understand where we stand out from the crowd as the way in which we serve and support our customers. And these are capabilities that are valuable, rare, and hard to replicate. So you want to think about what it is that you do that's different from other organizations that gives you the competitive edge that are core competencies for you. And as you're thinking about pivoting from one area into another, you want to think about our core strengths and what are some of the areas or some of the things that we've done best for our existing customers that can help us do it equally well within that new space. So when I think about my client that we worked with previously, and as she was in the process of looking at her pivot, some of her core competencies were within customer service, supervisory and site staffing, and inventory control. And each one of those core areas were she was able to write past performance within her response to her proposals in response to RFPs that focus in on her past performance in those areas. And so think about, the things that you're doing currently and how they relate to the areas in which you are looking to pivot. And then the next is, how do you assess them? You want to review your past performance, as I said, and client feedback. You want to make certain that you're looking at your contract evaluations and any feedback that you're getting. I like to tell companies the best time to get feedback is when you're doing your monthly project management review. When you sit down and you go over your project management process with your and results with your customer, use that as an opportunity to get feedback. You want to make certain that you and document that feedback, because all of this should be going into your past performance as well as into your marketing materials and your proposal responses as it relates to the work that you're doing with your customers. So use that as an opportunity to collect that information, to collect that feedback. You want to identify services and products that deliver the most value and revenue. So it's not just revenue and then value, but it's value and revenue. Because when you deliver good value, good quality, revenue actually tends to increase as a result of that. I can tell you firsthand that has been our focus, is to deliver value. And many years ago, we also did work directly with government agencies, and that was our focus, was to give value. And many times we were able to we were awarded contracts because of the value that we had provided to that same agency. So you want to make certain that you're giving value, and that will then help to drive revenue. You want to evaluate team skills. I talked about that before, your technical certifications and your specialized knowledge. That needs to be documented. And you want to analyze what your competitors can't easily replicate. And many times we are going up against larger organizations, and sometimes that is a competitive advantage within itself, because as small businesses, we have the opportunity to be flexible, we can be nimble, and we can pivot on a dime, right? Whereas larger organizations cannot. And so you want to make certain that you understand who your competition is and how you offer something completely different that they cannot replicate. That's homework. You've got to do a little bit of research, but that's powerful research. And this should all be captured within your strategic plan. And then let's talk about, where does your competitive advantage exist? So your competitive advantage comes from your core competencies, which we've just talked about, the customers that you've served, right? The past performance that you have, the competitors, assessing the competitors in your marketplace, and then knowing exactly how all of this fits within the existing climate, the existing market, the existing environment, And right smack dab in the middle of all of that is your competitive advantage. So what do you do best and where do you win often? Those are the things that you want to make certain that you document in your strategic plan because that is your competitive advantage. Okay. And then finally, we know our competencies, we know our competitive advantage. Now it's time to follow the money, right? It's time to follow the money. So what does that mean exactly? It means identifying existing and future customers that fit within that strategic initiative. And then let's go follow the money. Let's follow their budget. So what industries are receiving increased budget funds, budgetary funds from either federal or state agencies? You want to take a look at that because there will be gold existing in those areas. Which customer segments are actively spending? You know that through the budget components as well as the procurement vehicles, procurement portals. You can identify where customers are actively spending and what services are in high demand due to policies, economic or social trends. You want to make certain that you are understanding how you fit in because that is where the money is flowing and that's where you want to be. So how do you track opportunity shifts? You have to stay in tune with various portals. So at the federal level, we have sam.gov and we also have usaspending.gov. You want to pay attention because those two areas are going to give you the answers to the questions to the left, right? And then you also want to stay in touch with WMATA's budget portal as well, because a lot of this information is made available to you. You just need to make certain that you are registered, that you are able to pull information from these portals, and that you're looking at them on a regular basis. You want to monitor agency budgets and executive orders and industry-specific funding bills. You want to attend industry days. You've got to keep your face known. You've got to get your business out there. You've got to make certain that they know who you are. Because I'm going to tell you, when you show up, that creates some level of credibility. And so you want to make certain that you are attending industry days and procurement forecasts for major agencies. You want to follow trade publications and news sources specific to the markets that you're looking to enter into or to expand into. You want to pay attention to the prime contractors for potential teaming opportunities. And that's another reason why it's important to attend industry days, because you get to know who your competitor is. Not only do you get to talk to the customer, but you get to know who the competitor is. And then you also get to know who your potential teaming partners could be. And then you want to monitor solicitation portals, okay? So you want to make certain that you are following this process, follow the money, okay? And be very strategic about it. And so the next step on our strategic plan is to forecast your money and outline your management. That's extremely important because money will help, married with your mission, will help you grow. And your management team that you want to scale as your business scales will also help you grow as well. All right, so building sustainability and taking a look at your financials, as your money as well as your management. You want to make certain that you are diversifying your income streams. And this is what I talked about earlier, taking a look at different ways in which you can bring in revenue streams based upon your competencies, but also diversifying your customer base. Okay, so like my client that we talked about earlier, she expanded her revenue streams from just doing food services, where she became extremely vulnerable because there was a major disruption in the market, to adding on other revenue streams regarding or surrounding facilities management as well as construction management. Okay, you got to know your break-even point. And this is one of the areas where I think small businesses really need to focus in on, especially during the season where it's homework time. Take a look at your pricing objectives, your pricing models, and make certain that you're building something that is going to lead to a profitable endeavor. And how do you know that? You have to take a look at your internal operations, you've got to understand what is your break-even point. What do you need as a business on each one of your projects in order to make certain that you are staying profitable as an organization? Now is the time. This is budget season. So it's strategic planning season and it's budget season. So you want to make certain that you understand that break-even point. You want to build reserves. Build reserves. So don't spend all your cash. Save some. Invest it in vehicles that are going to help your money grow. Okay. So we want to make certain that we are building those reserves so that we are creating financial buffers and that we are also improving the financial components of the financial position of the company. And I've already talked about reevaluating your pricing, making certain that you are putting forth value pricing centered around your cost. Okay. And that's going to lead to a good, profitable organization. I do a presentation on pricing. I think I may have done it for WMATA previously, but take a look at that if you can, because that when you understand your break-even point and the way in which to structure your pricing so that you're profitable, we're in a really good position. And then last but not least, know when to say no. I always tell companies you want to make certain that you are developing what we call a bid, no bid schematic process. Not every opportunity is good for you. All money is not good money. You want to make certain that you are pursuing opportunities that make sense for your business and that you're rejecting those that do not. Okay. So you want to make certain that these things are being evaluated and considered as you are completing your strategic plan. And then let's talk about your organizational needs. This is the management component, because as you advance from certain levels on the legacy scale, your business is going to need something different. So I want to primarily focus in on the infrastructure needs, right? Because as you're growing, you want to make certain that you have a good management team in place. So in the very beginning, actually throughout the entire life cycle of your business, you want to make certain you have a really good A team in place. Your A team is going to be your banker, your accountant, your legal, your human resources, your insurance broker. You want to make certain that you have those components in place that's solid and that you engage with them, that you have conversations with them, that on a quarterly basis, you are having strategic discussions with them. And I think it's also important to understand that those components of your A team should understand your industry, because yes, we all may come from the same school of thought, but we're not all created equal. I don't necessarily know everything about certain markets, so I wouldn't serve as an A team member in those markets. I serve my clients well because I know certain areas. I know government contracting, I know state and local, I know professional services, I know construction, I know these things. And so outside of that, you want to make certain that you have the right people on your A team. You want to think about your outsourced components. And then is there an opportunity for us to now bring some of those components internal, because operationally we need them to address and be focused on and be available to our customers, or even the rest of our team as we're continuing to move forward. So you want to make certain that as you're increasing your opportunities, as you're looking to advance in other areas, as you're bringing on new partners, and you're seeking growth to the next level, you want to make certain that you're also building out that management team. Okay. All right, so strategic partnerships and joint ventures. This is extremely important, and I've been saying it all morning long, especially when it comes to this market right now, because we can go very far together, right? We're able to join our past performance together. Two companies or more than two companies are able to join their past performance together. They're able to pull their competencies together and leverage their certifications. So it's very, very important that we think about partnering with other companies as we move forward within our strategic and developing our strategic initiatives. Um, your network is absolutely your net worth. And so you probably already have companies that you've done work with that you could go to market with, that you could do some additional, provide additional services and solutions to customers together with. So this gives you an opportunity to expand your capacity. We talked about that earlier, that every question, every challenge, every instance in business is a capacity question. And the question is, do we have the capacity, and how can we increase our capacity? That's always the question. And the way that we can increase our capacity is through partnering and joint venturing. So it gives us access to additional resources and capabilities without a major investment. Okay. I already said this, we can gain past performance by leveraging the partner's credentials. And that gives us an opportunity, both of us, the opportunity to qualify for contracts, that larger contracts that we may not otherwise been able to pursue. It gives us an opportunity to share resources. We can split costs in certain areas, and also risk by combining our strengths together. Okay. And then it gets an opportunity to meet the requirements of our customers, to satisfy contract specifications that you may not otherwise been able to achieve. And so partnership is extremely important. So you want to think today about who we can, and I love the power of three. Who are three, good potential customers that we can go to market with and be successful in acquiring new opportunities. Okay. All right. So we've gone through all of the areas of the strategic plan. And now it comes down to narrowing it down to an action plan. And this is a 90-day action plan. And then you want to come back and revisit this 90-day action plan every 90 days. So my recommendation as it relates to your strategic plan is to revisit it with your team on a quarterly basis. Identify what we did well in this previous quarter that then is going to help drive opportunities in the next quarter. And then what is our plan of action to achieve those objectives? Okay. So I want you to map out your 90-day action plan as a result of some of the new initiatives that we've addressed in the strategic plan. Okay. So your 90-day action plan should should follow your strategic goals. And it should have measurable and specific outcomes that will help you move your business forward. Okay. You want to make certain, as I mentioned, that you're planning for quarterly shifts, right? Making adjustments along the way so that we are continuing the momentum of achieving success. You want to identify key relationships. I keep saying that throughout this presentation because partnership is extremely important. And you want to fully deploy by the end of each quarter, you want to fully deploy your strategic objectives. And so as you're going through the process of developing your strategic plan, there are a couple of things that I recommend that you document. The first thing is you want to make certain that you identify 3 specific goals that you want to achieve over the course of the next 12 months. 3 specific goals. You want to identify and refine, identify 1 revenue stream that you want to refine. You want to identify a system that you want to improve within your business. And you want to identify a potential partner that you are going to follow up with. Okay. And that is your action plan for this quarter coming, because now we've done the homework. Now it's time to deploy. So we want to make certain that we put those things in place where we are expanding our reach. That's through the contract opportunities, that we are improving our operations, and that we are solidifying opportunities with our partners. Okay. So that is your strategic plan. So that's your homework, is to first complete your strategic plan overall, but also to put your 90-day action plan in place. And then finally, I usually start with this, but I thought it was most important today to start with strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. But again, we have to get back to our mission. Who are we as an organization? What do we stand for? What is our vision and what are our values? Those are extremely important. And the reason why they're important is because whomever you partner with, whether it is your customer or your strategic partner or employees or A-team individuals that you're looking to hire, they have to align with your mission, your vision, and your values. Because if they don't, now you're working against yourself. So you want to make certain that you get back to what is our mission? Why do we exist in the marketplace? What is the impact that we are looking to achieve? What is our vision over the next 10 years? Who do we want to become? And then what are our values? What do we stand for? Is it integrity, excellence, quality, customer service? Think about your values. And then how are those three things going to help you achieve your strategic plan? So this is a sample. This is the strategic plan that we put in place. I did modify many of the things for presentation purposes, but going back to Martha's story, this is the strategic plan that we put in place. And it addresses each one of the areas. The mission for her is to deliver reliable, high quality food services, facility management, and construction solutions that support the operational readiness and well-being of military and civilian communities. That's her mission. That's her mission. And essentially, that has always been her mission. But what we did is we added the two new components, the two new competencies that we were focused in on. Her vision is to build the company within 5 years to 5 million or beyond in sustained revenue and income services. Well, she achieved that. She achieved that pretty quickly, actually, because her pivot was profitable. Okay. She documented her core competencies, and what we did on that side, if you look to the right, is we listed her existing core competencies and then what she was considering to add. And by doing that, we were able to map a correlation between the competencies. And that helped us to write her past performance and update her capability statement. Same thing with her competitive advantage. There wasn't much that changed here, actually, because she was able to leverage what she already had. Long-standing relationship with an existing customer. She was able to leverage her existing past performance and her performance ratings, as well as her certifications. So she was able to lean into that. So the combination of those things helped to build out the plan in the middle. What was she going to focus on over the next year to 10 years? Okay. And how was she going to get there? We had various revenue goals that we were looking to achieve. And then what did that mean organizationally that she would need to have in place in order to support those revenue goals? So you want to make certain that you're thinking about those things. And then, oops, sorry. And then we did her SWOT analysis, and she had a lot of strengths. I mean, she'd been a solid 30 years serving and supporting a specific community with long-lasting relationships. So we leveraged that. We leveraged that ability. She had an opportunity funnel that was with a strategic partner. So she already had pretty solid strategic partners in place. And so now she just needed to lean into them. When she was weak, she had limited or lacking pipeline of opportunities within the new areas that she was looking to focus. And then also, because the food services industry the bottom had dropped out of the industry, there wasn't a lot available at that particular point in time by way of opportunities. She had a limited bonding capacity. Actually, she had none. Because she didn't have to have bonding. She didn't need to be bonded in the services that she had in place. So we had to develop that. And then competitive pricing was a challenge because she needed to understand what did it mean to break even for my business as we operate into this new space. Okay. So you want to make certain that you're looking at all of these areas and that they're inclusive in your strategic plan. And I love that the strategic plan itself is at a glance because you are able to now communicate this with your team. You don't want to operate in a silo. Once you have put your plan in place and you know what your 90-day action plan is, you want to communicate that with your team. You want them to be on board with helping you move forward, uh, helping the business move forward to be successful. Okay. So I am actually at the end of this presentation. I will open it up for questions and get your insight. I'd like to know what was most important to you today. What was most valuable to you today?
Hey, Lisa, so there were some more input about what is a strategic plan after you started.
Okay.
They said with goals set up. They said a roadmap to go from point A to B. Strategic
Absolutely.
planning is about leverage.
Mm. Leverage is my favorite word in the dictionary. Leverage. You always want to be in a position of leverage, right? So you want to, and your strategic plan does, it gives you that. It gives you the opportunity to strengthen the leverage that you have. It gives you the ability to see, right? To see exactly where you fit. It gives you an opportunity to step outside of your business and take a look at the inside of it. I remember many, many years ago, I hired a chief operating officer. And when he came on board, he came in and he got running. He started putting a lot of things in place, started working with our customers. He did a lot of things to incorporate operational efficiency. And he sat down with me. He said one day, he said, I love doing this. I am going to tell you that on the outside, uh, your business was amazing to me. Once I came inside and I was able to look underneath the hood, I saw an opportunity, lots of opportunities to be able to build and expand and facilitate growth. And so that's what you want to be able to see. You want to step outside of your organization, lift up the hood and take a look, right? Because when you do that, you're able to get from point A to point B and develop even more leverage within your business. So I love that. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. There is a company asking for your daughter's information. They're in the market for apparel.
Oh,
They've listed
fantastic.
their information. She
Okay,
can provide that to you.
excellent. Yes, I would absolutely make certain to follow up with you as well. And I'm not sure if it makes sense for me to put that information in the chat, but I'm happy to do that as well.
That's up to you.
Okay.
So there's a question. How did you deal with different NEIC codes that your customers needed to add to her company's certification? Usually you have to perform the work before these codes are approved for your company to add them to your certification, and the prime contractor to add that work under the MWDBE set aside. Thank you.
So your question is, how do you add various NAICS codes to your organization?
Correct.
Yeah. Um, so for this company that we work with, we did add NAICS codes to the organization. And again, she worked primarily with the federal government. And what she did for them was add those NAICS codes within SAM. She also had to have a conversation with the Small Business Administration to make certain that they were aware that her NAICS codes had increased, but she still operated under her primary NAICS code. So that didn't go away. It was just additional NAICS code that she was operating under and that she was able to pursue new opportunities under. But that's a great question. So that's strategy within itself as well. The other thing too is you want to make certain that you're not adding too many things to your portfolio because your customer needs to know what your specialty is. So and that's another thing that we did with her. We made certain that the NAICS codes that she was transitioning from, she was able to build uh, more capabilities within NAICS codes that made sense and matched or mapped to the previous NAICS codes where she operated. So she didn't add a lot of NAICS codes to hers, but she did add some. But she did not add a lot because you want the customer to understand that you're a specialist, that you understand that their objectives, you understand their pain points, that you have the ability to address those areas. So I hope that answers the question, but it is strategic.
So Lisa, that is all the questions in there. Hold on, one more. You added that to the strategy and took it under consideration. Thank you. That was from
Yes.
the person who asked the question.
Excellent. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, you want to make certain that your strategy needs to take into consideration the structure that has been communicated to other organizations, especially when it relates to your certifications. So you want to make certain that you are considering that in your strategic planning process. And any area where there is a change in policy or practice for your company, you want to consider that as part of your action plan. What areas do we need? Where do we need to go and update policies or practices so that when we go to market, it is there's no conflict, there's no issue, that we're able to still continue to operate and it doesn't harm the business at all.
So there's one more question. This was helpful for my thinking. It gave me a lot of what's, but I need some hows. For example, how would someone choose their A team, similar to how one would hire a manager?
Yeah, so first of all, I like to say go back to your mission, vision, values. That is extremely important to understand. I'm actually in the process of writing a book called Vetting, it's about vetting, resources, partnerships, employees, and customers. And the core of that objective is to make certain that you are hiring, engaging with organizations and people that are synergistically aligned with your mission, vision, and values. So that's the first thing. The next thing is with respect to your A team, I mentioned it earlier, you want to make certain that those individuals align within your marketplace, that they understand your market, that they understand even the customer, and that they also have other companies that they work with that are similar to yours, because they can potentially make recommendations to you for partnering. Okay. And so you want to look for individuals that are in that marketplace. Where do you begin to find individuals like that? Many of them can be found in industry days. Oftentimes they can be found by talking to organizations like the Small Business Development Center. I've served as a counselor, or have served as a counselor, but I serve on the advisory board for the Small Business Development Center in DC. So a lot of those resources may be available within the marketplace by just tapping into resources like that, PTech. And you can even talk to the small business office. They can't make recommendations. I do know that. But they may be able to point you in the right direction. But I think at the end of the day, you want to make certain that you're asking the question, do these individuals who are serving my business have the capacity to help me to continue to execute on my strategic plan and move my business forward? Do they understand the marketplace that I'm working in? You can reach out to me. I'm happy to make some recommendations.
Lisa, there's another question. As a new company, we struggle with building client relationships. This is because we are new as an entity. However, not new to the industry. Developing a client's trust to our capabilities is a challenge and slow start.
Yeah. Okay. I probably need to sit down and talk to you a little bit more about specifically where your challenges are. But these are some of the things that have worked with my business and with other companies that we've consulted. I will tell you that when I first started working in the marketplace, I did not come in fresh. I came in with relationships. And these were relationships that I'd had previous to starting my business. And so I always tell companies and business owners, we leave a lot of money on the table because we don't tap into the relationships that we already have. And so part of this process of engaging with new customers, engaging with new potential partners, engaging in teaming agreements and arrangements. Some of that will occur if we just simply tap into the existing relationships that we already have. It's having a conversation. Those relationships may or may not hire us, but they can most certainly point us and introduce us and potentially refer us. That's the first thing. The next thing is you got to show up. You got to show up. I talked about the industry days. That's where I got my very first federal government contract, was at an industry day. We were at a what used to be called the OSDBU conference. It's called the procurement conference, the procurement conference now. But I was not pursuing federal government work. I was working with contractors primarily, but we had a table and a booth, and I showed up at that event every single year. And right next to us this one year was the Department of Health and Human Services. And we just had a really just a nice chat. We weren't even talking about business. She asked me about some things that we did, and I told her, and I helped her with something at her booth. And that was it. She called me later and she said, I don't know if you remember me, but we were at the conference together and our table was next to you. You told me that you did financial management support. Do you do any type of grants management work? Well, at the moment, I did not, had never done anything in grants management ever, but it had something to do with money. And I was interested in increasing my capability. So I told her, absolutely yes. And she was a small business specialist that made an introduction to the program office and the contracting officer. And because we were 8A certified, we were awarded a sole source set aside contract. So you got to get out. You got to, organizations have got to see you. They've got to know who you are. And the more you show up, the more credible you become. That's the second thing. The third thing is you've got to do some marketing. And marketing doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be outside, external to the organization constantly, but you have to do some type of marketing, whether it is on LinkedIn, which I do recommend, is that you make certain that you're doing some marketing on your LinkedIn and that your website presence is good. So those are some fundamental things that can help strengthen relationships and get you out there. But it's going to take some time to have a conversation with individuals, and that again, that means that you've got to show up.
Okay, Lisa. So what are the next actionable steps for all of us from this point? Can we follow up with you based on the steps where we are individually? If you provide services to small businesses, my company is between launch and livelihood.
Excellent. Very good. I love the fact that you know exactly where you are and you know what your next move is. Yes, my information. So let me bring up that slide. So this is a QR code, or you can go to the website that is listed, the URL that's listed. Once you go there, it's going to first ask you information about today's presentation, because I would love to get your feedback. What resonated and what would you like to know more about? But then also you have the opportunity to download the worksheet that I presented today. This will take you to our website also. So I'll leave this up and then I'll bring up the other slide that will also take you to the website and LinkedIn. I'm very, very active on LinkedIn. So let's make certain that we stay in contact. If you reach out to me on LinkedIn, I will respond. And I'll send you a link so that we can schedule some time to sit down and have a conversation. I'm very interested in making certain that you all are ready to move forward.
Okay, Lisa, this is the last one. Someone said they need a CPA that has experience with defense contracting accounting. a referral for someone would be helpful. Thank you.
That's me. I can help you with that. A lot of our work has been centered around defense contracting. In fact, the last couple of weeks, we've been supporting DCAA pre-award audits, which is one of the key areas that we work with companies on, making certain that they have developed the appropriate structure that supports the pricing, billing, policies and procedures that they have in place for their businesses and organization, developing indirect rates, understanding that break-even point. I'd love to talk to you.
Thank you, Lisa. We're going to turn over the webinar to my director, Misha.
Awesome. Thank you all.
Marlo. Lisa, girl, you deliver every time. You deliver every time. Thank you, Lisa, so much. Let me tell you, I was trying to write some of them diamond nuggets that you was dropping on us today. You know, you said we had the 6 goals for the day, so you definitely hit your 6 goals. You know, it's the whole foolproof plan, and you did that. I loved how you said your mission is critical, and you must stay focused. I thought that was like, okay, that was the biggest takeaway. The mission is critical and staying focused, because we tend to lose sight of that, you know, when there's so much going on at one time, right? When we're trying to keep up with so many things. I also like the part you covered about the federal procurement marketing cycle, because some people don't know it's broken down in quarters like that, right? And it's just like, well, hey, I'm going to, you know, but it's almost like, well, they didn't want to do because it's not the right time.
That's right.
You approach them at the wrong time of their cycle. So knowing those type of things, I thought that was key. And when you talk about a strategic plan is your compass, like you said, sometimes it doesn't get finished, because a job or something will come up, you start out with it and then it doesn't get finished. But if it's finished, we tend not to revisit it.
Absolutely.
That's like a live document, you know, that we need to revisit, like you said, at least quarterly, you know, with our folks and everything. So I'm telling you, you really dropped some good stuff. I'm the old SWOT analysis girl. I love that you spoke about that, because it is so relevant, especially right now. So, Lisa, I just want to thank you. Thank you for being our partner and coming to educate and drop these diamond nuggets on our businesses. We love having you. We really do.
Thank you. Thank you for having me back. I enjoy this. Small business is my passion. And I appreciate you. I appreciate the partnership that we have. We've been doing this for a couple of years now. So thank you again. Yes.
Well, we can definitely tell it. I would be remiss if I didn't thank my own team, the Small Business Programs Office Certification and Outreach team. I want to say thank you to Marlo, Michael, Shanae, Hannah, Heather, and Sierra. I love you guys. You always pull this together and make great things happen for our small businesses. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. I love us working together as a team. I hope that everybody was able to write down the nuggets, but also make sure that you have Lisa's contact information so that you can follow up with her. We do look forward to seeing you at our next outreach. We have an in-person, Meet the Primes on September 25th at the Metro's New Carrollton location. So see the scanned QR code there. Visit our website, get the information, sign up to come out. It's going to be awesome. Again, thank everybody. Thank you so much. Remember, fill out those survey cards, and we are hoping to see you at the next outreach. Take care, everybody, and talk to you soon.
That concludes our webinar. Everyone have a great day.
Hi, Marlo.
Yes, hi, Lisa.
I wasn't sure if you needed me to stay
Oh,
behind
we're
or
good.
not.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you all. I appreciate you.
Bye.
Have a good day.